My dad made a deal with something in that lake that he never told me what the deal was. He never told me what he gave up, that he never told me that 7 years later, it would come looking for me. He died before he got the chance. I've been sitting here for about 40 minutes, trying to figure out how to write this. I typed it out once already and deleted the whole thing. I'm going to try again and just not stop this time, because if I stop, I'm not going to finish it. This happened 3 weeks ago. I haven't told anyone. Not my mom. Not my friend Marcus. Not the therapist I saw twice after my dad died, and then stopped going to, because sitting in that office made me feel worse, not better. Nobody. And I think the reason I haven't told anyone, is because I know exactly how it sounds. And I'm not ready to watch someone's face while I say it out loud. My dad died in July, heart attack. He was 58. I'm not going to go into all of that right now, because that's not really what this is about. Except that it is. Kind of. It's connected. That's the part I'm still trying to understand. He was a big fisherman his whole life. That was his thing. Every weekend when I was growing up, every holiday that landed near a good fishing window, we were out on Harker's Lake. It's this lake about 5 miles outside the town I grew up in. Big and deep and cold, kind of out in the middle of nowhere, down a dirt road that floods every spring. My dad knew every inch of it. He'd been fishing it since he was a teenager. When things were bad between him and my mom, when work was rough, when anything was wrong, he went to that lake. That was where he went to be okay. After he died, I started going out there sometimes. Not to fish, really. Just to sit. It sounds stupid. But it was the only place I felt like he was still sort of around. I'd take his old aluminum boat out to the middle, cut the motor, and just sit there for a while. It helped, I think. Or at least, it didn't make things worse. I went out there on a Wednesday night in October. Late. I launched the boat around 11, maybe 11:30. I know that sounds like a weird time to go. But I'd been having trouble sleeping anyway, and I wasn't doing anything except lying in bed staring at the ceiling. So I just got up, drove out there, and went. It was foggy. Really foggy. The kind of fog that sits on the water and doesn't move. I couldn't see the far bank at all. I told myself it was fine. I'd been on that lake my whole life. I knew it. I took his tackle box out of habit even though I wasn't really planning to fish, brought a rod, dropped the line in mostly just to have something to do with my hands. I had coffee. I sat there. The fog was thick and it was quiet and it was cold but not unbearable, and for a while I just kind of zoned out and thought about nothing. Which was honestly, the best I'd felt in months. That lasted until about 2 in the morning. Underscore 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 underscore. The water moved near the boat. Not like wind. Not like a fish near the surface. More like something big, shifted underneath me. Like a pressure thing. It was subtle enough that I almost didn't register it. And when I did, I told myself it was a big catfish. The catfish in that lake get huge. My dad caught one once that was over 50 pounds. So I told myself that's what it was, and I went back to zoning out. Then I went to adjust the rod. And it wasn't there. I want to be really clear about this because I know it sounds like nothing. I had set the rod against the side of the boat. I watched myself do it. And it was just gone. I checked everywhere. Under the seat, around the tackle box, along the whole floor of the boat. Nothing. I even shone my phone flashlight over the side to see if it had somehow slipped into the water without me hearing it, which doesn't really make sense, but I was looking for explanations. I couldn't find it. I still can't explain where it went. Underscore 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 underscore. I was still fixated on the rod when I heard the knocking. Underneath the boat. 3 knocks. Even spacing. Like someone taking their time. Knock. 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 I know what a boat sounds like when it drifts over something. I know what debris sounds like, what logs sound like, what the hull sounds like when the temperature changes. I grew up on that boat. This wasn't any of those things. This was intentional. It sounded like something that understood what knocking meant, and was doing it on purpose. I didn't move. I just sat there and held my breath. And after maybe 30 seconds, it came again. Same rhythm. Same pace. Like it wasn't impatient. Like it had been waiting for a while already, and could wait a lot longer. I picked up the oar. I don't know what my plan was. I didn't have a plan. I just needed to be holding something. Underscore 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 underscore. I don't know how long I sat there. Time was doing something weird. The fog kept getting heavier, and the lantern only lit up a small circle of water, and everything outside that circle was just gray. And dark. And quiet. Except for the sound of my own breathing. I kept watching the water on all sides of the boat. Looking for anything. Seeing nothing. And then there was a hand on the edge of the boat. I'm going to try to just describe it, without editorializing, because I think that's the only way I can get through this part. It was on the left side of the hull, resting on the edge. 5 fingers. It looked like a human hand. But the color was off. Grayish. Pale in a way that had nothing to do with cold. More like something that had been in water, for a very long time. And it wasn't grabbing on. It wasn't the frantic grip of someone who'd fallen in and was trying not to drown. It was just resting there. Loose and calm. Like it wasn't in any hurry at all. I hit it with the oar as hard as I could. It didn't move. I hit it again, and the fingers tightened. Like the impact made it hold on harder. And then the water broke. And the head came up. I'm not going to describe the face in detail. I've tried to write that part 3 times and I keep deleting it. What I'll say is that the structure of it looked human. But something was wrong with it, in a way I can't fully put into words. The eyes were completely white. No color. No pupil. Just white. And it was smiling. And the smile. I knew that smile. I don't mean it reminded me of something. I mean I knew it the way you know your own name. I had seen that smile my whole life. At baseball games. At dinner. In the hospital in July, when he was trying to tell me it wasn't as bad as it looked, even though we both knew it was. Underscore 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 unquote. I don't remember making the decision. I was just in the water, and the cold knocked the breath out of me completely, and I started swimming. The fog was everywhere and I had no idea which direction the shore was, but I just picked a direction and swam. At some point I stopped and looked back. I could see the lantern behind me. Just this small orange blur in the gray. And there was a shape in the boat. Sitting in the stern. In the seat where my dad always sat. Just sitting there. Watching. It wasn't following me. That's the part one keep thinking about. It wasn't following me. I was in the water, in the dark, exhausted and freezing and completely turned around, and it just sat there and watched. And I think I understand now why it did that. I was already in its lake. I was already cold. I was already lost. It didn't need to come after me. It just needed to wait. Underscore 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 underscore. I swam for a long time. I don't remember getting to shore. I remember sitting on the bank in wet clothes while the sky started going gray, realizing I didn't have my keys. They were somewhere in the water. I walked almost 4 miles to the nearest house that had lights on, and knocked on the door at 6 in the morning, and asked a woman I'd never met if I could use her phone. She let me in. Gave me a towel. I called Marcus and he came and got me. He asked me what happened. I told him I'd been fishing and fallen in. He said, "That's why you don't go out alone at night, man." I said, "Yeah. I know. I haven't been back to the lake." Underscore 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 underscore. Here's the thing I keep coming back to. In the hospital, a few days before my dad died, he had a moment where he was really lucid. Fully present, in a way he hadn't been in days. He grabbed my hand and said he needed to tell me something about the lake. About a night, 7 years ago, when he'd been out there with some friends. He said something came up from underneath the water that night. He said it talked to him. He said it made him agree to something. And he'd been scared, and he'd agreed, and he'd spent years wishing he hadn't. I asked him what he agreed to. He went away again before he could answer me. And 3 hours later, he was gone. I told myself it was the medication. He was on a lot of medication. People say things that don't make sense at the end. I told myself that for 3 months. I'm finding it harder to tell myself that now. I don't know what was in that lake. I don't know what my dad agreed to, or what it wanted from me, or why it looked like him. I don't have any of those answers. And I don't think I'm going to get them. What I do know is that since October, I've been waking up at 3 in the morning. Almost every night. Just snapping awake, completely alert. The apartment is quiet. Nothing's there. Every night. 3 in the morning. Nothing there. Last night I woke up at 3. And I was lying there in the dark, waiting, listening, the way I always do now. And after a minute, I heard something. From the crawlspace under the floor. 3 knocks. Slow. And even. And patient. Underscore 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 underscore. I haven't slept since. It's almost noon and I'm still sitting here. And I don't know what to do with any of this. So I wrote it down. I don't know what I'm expecting anyone to say. Maybe nothing. Maybe I just needed to say it somewhere. I'm going to try to sleep now. I'll probably wake up at 3.